Thank you. And you are watching and listening to the Electronic Intifada live stream. I'm Nora Barrows-Friedman with Ali Abunimah, and we wanted to bring on our colleague, David Cronin, who wrote, hi, Dave.
Hi, how are you, Nora?
Good to see you.
Nice to see you back,
Thank
David.
you very much.
Tell us about what happened. You were censored by a Dutch university. Tell us about why and what's happened since.
Yeah. Well, as I'm sure you're aware, Nora, for a number of years now, there's been an annual event called Israel Apartheid Week. Israel Apartheid Week is marked in universities across the world. It focuses on Israel's crimes against the Palestinian people. It has been held for a number of years in the University of Groningen in the Netherlands. I'd imagine the university weren't probably not exactly delighted that it was taking place on their campus, but they tolerated. They were prepared to tolerate it until this year. I was invited by a number of students there to give a talk as part of Israel Apartheid Week this year. 24 hours before I was scheduled to give a talk at the university, I received an email from one of the organizers saying, "We're sorry, the administration has banned the event." Apparently, it was too sensitive. I should add that nobody from the university's administration had the courtesy to contact me directly to say why I was objectionable. But I reached out to the university and I did get a statement from them. The statement I got was from a woman called Toni Visser, who is a dean at the university. And her statement, her brief comments were, I could only describe them as convoluted and contradictory. I've been told by the organizers that they objected to the fact that I was described as an activist journalist on the flyer for the event. Visser claimed that she had no problem with me being an activist and a journalist. But then she went on to say that the fact that I was described as an activist and a journalist meant that they could not assess whether this was an appropriate academic event for the university. It wasn't an academic event to begin with. I'm not an academic. It wasn't something that was a formal, I wasn't teaching a formal class in the university or anything like that. I was invited to give a talk in the evening.
And David,
all over the world have political events all the time. They clearly decided to censor this event in the middle of the Gaza genocide. If we could just add briefly, actually, the title of the talk was How Europe Enabled the Gaza Genocide.
And you did actually give that talk online, but they
Correct.
banned it. They banned the event in person that was supposed
Correct.
to happen on the campus and that the students had invited you to. I mean, a couple of things strike me about this, David. First of all is, well, you may not be an academic, but you are a journalist and you are the author of several books. So you're an expert. Not that I'm saying that should be necessarily the entry point. People have all kinds of different experiences and backgrounds, but for a university to claim that having someone of your background on campus is inappropriate is just outright censorship. And I suppose the thing they object to about activist, or what activist means to them, is that you tell the truth. What they prefer a journalist is stenographer journalists, the ones who just write down whatever the Israeli army or the Dutch government tells them. And you definitely don't do that. And I just want to show this story that we published from 2022 that I just put in, Tamara, that this was from March 2022 when Dutch universities, I think it was the whole consortium of Dutch universities, collectively decided to completely cut all ties with Russia while continuing to censor their students and academics on behalf of the Israel lobby. But even at that point, it hadn't risen to outright bans. You wrote in your piece, David, that the Netherlands markets itself as one of the real bastions of free speech in Europe. Is that how does that weigh up against what you experienced?
The Netherlands, of course, does present itself as a liberal democracy, Ali, as you know. It's a liberal democracy that, well, that's obviously debatable whether it is a liberal democracy or not. What kind of a liberal democracy censors talks by activists and journalists? It's interesting that you mentioned a second ago, Ali, that the Dutch universities, including the University of Groningen, took a very strong stance against Russia's invasion of Ukraine. In this particular instance, I'm told that the University of Groningen the administration argued that Gaza was too political for them to take a stance. So the Russian invasion of Ukraine, although that was clearly a political issue, was something in which they could take a very clear stance. However, they cannot, for some reason, take a clear stance against the genocide that is taking place right at this moment in Gaza. Perhaps one reason for that is that the University of Groningen is complicit in Israel's crimes. The University of Groningen has an official partnership with Hebrew University of Jerusalem. The Hebrew University of Jerusalem encroaches onto occupied Palestinian land in East Jerusalem and elsewhere in the West Bank. Hebrew University of Jerusalem runs programs in conjunction with the Israeli military, the very same military that is carrying out acts of genocide in Gaza at this moment. It even, I believe, undertakes combat training for the Israeli military on campus. This is an official partner of the University of Groningen. So perhaps it's not surprising that the university does not want such unsavory connections to be advertised.
And just let's put this up, Tamara. I just dropped another thing in the private chat. This is actually a letter from the heads of all of the Israeli universities, including the president of the Hebrew University, and it's dated 11th of October, and it's addressed to the presidents of universities around the world and calling on them to support Israel's genocide in Gaza. And they actually write, let's be clear, this is not war as usual or just another chapter in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. There are not good people on both sides. Hamas and Islamic Jihad have proven themselves to be cruel, barbaric organizations reminiscent of the Taliban and the Islamic State. And they urge everyone to support the war. So here are those Israeli universities which are partnered with the University of Groningen and others, actually spewing directly Israeli propaganda and talking points and dehumanizing Palestinians. But just, another point on this, David, is that if I'm correct, in the Netherlands in particular, you were going to speak about genocide, and speaking up, not being silent about genocide. And this is one of the messages that the Dutch government is constantly harping on about in the context of Holocaust Memorial Day, because in fact, the Netherlands in Western Europe is the country where the highest proportion of its Jewish population was exterminated by the Nazis. And the reason that the Nazis had such success in exterminating the Jewish population of the Netherlands is because of the widespread collaboration by Dutch citizens and Dutch authorities. Yes, there certainly was a resistance in the Netherlands, but there was a lot of collaboration with the Nazis. So you would think that the one lesson that Dutch rulers and leaders and university heads would take away is that the time to break your silence is during a genocide.
Yes, three quarters of Dutch Jews were killed in the Holocaust. We're talking about over 100,000 people. I think 102,000 Jews were deported from the Netherlands and killed in Nazi camps. Fast forward to 2024. In the middle of the Gaza genocide, a national Holocaust museum was opened in the Netherlands. The guest of honor in inverted commas, at the opening of that event was Isaac Herzog, the president of Israel, a man who was actually identified by the International Court of Justice in The Hague, in the Netherlands, as one of the individuals who demonstrated genocidal intent in comments he made in the early stages of the current war against Gaza. When he was in the Netherlands for the opening of that event, Mr. Herzog made a point of sitting down with Geert Wilders, the extreme right, the leader of the extreme right in the Netherlands. There's, if I may use my native Irish language for a second, there's an old Irish expression, @Ní Ciorróg, Ciorróg Ella, which roughly translates as, it takes one to know one. Isaac Herzog is presented by many as a kind of a moderate leader of Israel, yet he doesn't hesitate for 1 second to embrace a racist, anti-Muslim bigot such as Geert Wilders in the Netherlands. In any event, the whole event was a weaponization of the Holocaust, an abuse of the Holocaust. The event that was banned in the Netherlands, the title of it was How Europe Enabled the Gaza Genocide. The poster of it actually had a picture, a photograph of Ursula von der Leyen, the president of the European Commission.
Frau Genocide.
She's not Dutch, she's German, but she's another person who has abused the Holocaust during the current genocide. In November last year, Ursula von der Leyen commemorated Kristallnacht, a horrible, historic, horrible episode of extreme violence against German Jews. She commemorated the anniversary of Kristallnacht by circulating a photograph of her at the Holocaust monument in Berlin, using the slogan, "Never again is now." The slogan, "Never again is now," means nothing unless you really mean that nobody should ever be subjected to a Holocaust ever again. While she was circulating that message, a Holocaust was being undertaken in Gaza. She and many other European Union leaders have facilitated that Holocaust. If we come back to the Netherlands just for 1 second. We talked for a second about the Netherlands positioning itself as a liberal democracy. Perhaps we can take a little bit of hope from the fact that in February, if memory serves me correctly, a court in the Netherlands ordered that parts for F-35 warplanes could not be shipped from the Netherlands to Israel. That indicates that there is at least an element of independence in the Dutch judiciary. There's no such independence when it comes to the Dutch government. The Dutch government, during that court case, argued that F-35 parts for F-35 warplanes should be sent to Israel because Israel needed such parts to defend itself. Israel does not have the right to defend itself. It's an occupier. Occupiers don't have rights. They have obligations. Israel has an obligation to get the hell out of Gaza and to end its apartheid system, to end its occupation of the West Bank. Unfortunately, the Dutch government is not prepared to make Israel honor that obligation. Instead, it is complicit in Israel's crimes.
Incredible. Thanks for your work, Dave, as always. Being the thorn in the side of the European Union and the European Commission officials, as always, and pointing out the genocidal hypocrisy of these leaders, especially in Europe. Again, Dave, your post on this is called "Why I Was Censored by a Dutch University." It's up now on the Electronic Intifada. Yep, there it is. Dave Cronin, thanks for your work. So good to see you.
Thanks very much, Laura. Thanks, Ali.
Yep. And just for those who don't know, Dave, along with Omar Ashtawy and Leah Caldwell, work very closely with all our writers in Gaza.
And Michael Brown.
And yeah, on the live stream, I'm forgetting, it's easy to forget things when you're live. But, just to say thank you to all of our editors, our feature editors who are helping every day to publish so many of those important and wonderful pieces from our contributors in Gaza, like Abu Bakr, who we just spoke to, and so many others. Thank you so much, Dave.
Thanks very much.
Thanks for watching this video. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, hit like, leave a comment. These engagements help us with the YouTube algorithm, and it helps us to get around Silicon Valley censorship as much as possible. It does make a difference. You can also support our journalism by going to electronicintifada.net and clicking on donate now. Thank you.